In 1996, I was serving in Lima, Peru with the U.S. Agency for International Development. I was the director of the Alternative Development Program, a $200 million program aimed at providing licit activities for farmers who were involved in growing coca leaf. The International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Bureau, INL, had been very successful with the Peruvian government in interdicting the supply chain that basically went from Peru to Colombia. And so we faced a situation with our farmers where there was no alternative income. Our part under AID was to help determine what types of crops could be grown to replace coca once it was interdicted. So we worked closely with the Ministry of Agriculture. Minister Muñante, with his people, were our partners. December 17th of 1996, I went to a reception at the Japanese ambassador's residence in honor of the birthday of the Emperor of Japan. There were about 500 people at the reception. All of our senior staff at the embassy was there. Minister Muñante was there. And it was a mix of foreign service people and many, many dignitaries. I remember talking to Don Boyd, the USAID director, and him saying this was the most secure place in Lima. A few minutes later, there was a loud explosion toward the back of the compound, and I heard gunfire. Terrorists from the Movimiento Revolucionario Tupac Amaru, the MRTA, had rented a house in the back of the compound about 6 months before. That night, they came into the area in an ambulance. So they were there to get someone who was having a medical emergency. When they got to the house that they had rented, they unloaded 13 chairs, put a charge there, and then blew a hole in the back wall. It startled me. It was like a door slamming. And as I looked up, I saw the canopy. We were under a big canopy in the back of the residence. I saw it shooting up. And that's when everybody was told to hit the ground. It was total chaos. I was on the floor next to one of the terrorists, and they were shouting different things, and I noticed his pants leg was shaking. And I thought to myself, this is not good because he's more afraid than I am. The second in command, Rolly Rojas El Arabi, he got the guest list and went up on the staircase and started calling out names. Basically, if your name was on the list, you were taken upstairs as a higher value hostage. My name was on the list. Minister Muñante was there. The Ambassador Jed had left 5 minutes before the attack. He was not there, and it was good fortune for him. The rest of us were put into rooms. It was a really cramped situation. I'm not sure how many were actually upstairs, maybe 150 to 200. Everybody was nervous, everybody was tense, and it was really crowded and uncomfortable. And it was at this point that security forces came in and surrounded the residence. And the authorities immediately cut off electricity. But an emergency generator kicked on, and so we were able to see on TV everything that was happening. So we made it through that night. The next morning, there was an announcement on the TV that the MRTA had announced they were going to start shooting hostages at 11. With that, the MRTA was coming around saying they were going to start binding the hands of all the hostages. And it was at this point that Minister Muñante, Foreign Minister Tudela, and some of the other foreign service personnel with the Peruvian government really started arguing with the MRTA. And it was an animated argument. They were standing up for themselves, but also for us. In the end, they prevailed. And during the days that we were there was a real relationship of we're in this together and that they were taking care of us. All of the Americans were released, 9 of us, after 5 days on December 22nd. 78 of the other hostages were held, including Minister Muñoz, until they were liberated in a raid in Easter in 1997. I saw Minister Muñoz after he was freed, and one of the first things he did was just give me a hug, and we both understood without saying a word that we had been through something that was difficult. I tried to think about this as I went forward with my career. Every relationship matters, whether it's with a minister or anyone else that you come in contact with during your foreign service is really important later, or could be, for your own security. I think the relationships we built made a difference. Good diplomacy builds good security.